The feeling of might, not to be mistaken for strength, but the feeling of might. Might just self-justify the consumption. The domination of wealth over intent. The domination of privilege over ability. The domination of nepotism over earned position. The domination of the cheat over the trusted. If you feel mighty, what's to stop you? Not the feeling of guilt, not the feeling of justice, not the feeling of cooperation, just the fleeting feeling of might.
This podcast is based around the history and experiences of the infamous Shane Bugbee, recollected and retold by Shane Bugbee himself. Who is Shane? Well, you're about to find out. I'm your host, Nannerl, and this is Speak of the Devil.
Some places we can't go and just speak of the devil. It's sometimes socially unacceptable. It might be inappropriate. And for some, speaking of the devil can have dangerous consequences. I'm privileged to have an interview today with Shane Bugbee and about his life and times, and in particular, the time that he got run out of Ely, Minnesota. How are you doing, Shane?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's always awesome to hang out with you and talk online.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited that we're doing yet again another story time with Shane. I'm really loving this. The level of excitement I have for hearing your stories is almost to the point where I want a sample of kids cheering, going like, yeah, to like be like, are you ready for a story, kids? Yeah! So, tell us a story, Shane. We're ready. Yeah!
I love to tell children stories about Satan.
All right, so Ely. What kind of place is Ely?
Wow, that word alone strikes a trauma in my heart almost. It's like, what a heavy... Ely is a Midwestern town. It's in the Upper Peninsula of Minnesota, and it's 2 hours from anything civilized. So it's really wild. Living there, you would see a wolf walking down the alley with a deer's head in its mouth. That's how Ely is. They settle problems with axes and hatchets. It's a mining town, and that ran around the Native Americans, ran them around and ran them out of town, or took over the Ojibwe area and mined it. And so, for me, I was run out of there. That's the essence of that's why we're focused. That's why I would talk about Ely, is I was run out of there for being a public Satanist. But as far as the natives went, they had a casino up there and they were buying back Ely one cheeseburger at a time. So they had bought back the radio station and other things. When I was run out of town, I went and met with the tribe, and the president of the tribe. And he told me that I was being run out of town. Yeah, he told me basically I was being run out of town because I stepped on too many feet too fast. Ely's a very nuanced, layered story, so maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself there.
Yeah, let's back up, and I want to know why you had to be there in the first place.
Oh boy, well, loyalty of the heart. I suffer from a curse called integrity and loyalty.
Okay.
There may be many pauses in this. I have to, because this is an emotional conversation.
Oh, I understand.
I was up there. I had a partner who I cared for a lot. You might say I loved, though I wonder what that means. Anyway, I went up there because her father was sick, had a stroke. And we decided, versus going to New York, where I had a job opportunity in publishing. Well, not a job. I was going to work with pornographers and publish my satanic filth to the world. We went up to Ely, Minnesota to take care of her father. So that's why we were up there. That's basically it. I had no interest in going to the middle of the woods. And when I moved up there, I felt like the Richard Pryor movie, Bustin' Loose, I think it is, where he takes these inner city kids to the middle of the woods, I think it is.
Yes.
And they had never seen trees or mud. And that's how I felt being from Chicago. I'm like, wow, this place is crazy. I had real trees, being from Chicago, and it was a weird place, Ely. So I was up there due to love and integrity, I would say, or, stuff like that. And
I'm very. It's in hindsight. I'm sure it's not so pleasant, but love makes us do crazy things.
I don't regret any of it. I don't regret that because I chose human beings over profit or business or a climb of power that I knew was not actually obtainable. You can't climb power. You are power. You can become power. You can be powerful within yourself and your mind and project that into the world, but you cannot climb power. So I chose not to try to climb power. I'm a romantic, so I'm always going to choose the heart. I'm always going to choose the heart and human beings and flesh, the pleasures of the flesh, or warmth of human beings and love. That's what I chose.
I see. Now, when you moved there, besides the culture shock of it being the total opposite of Chicago is what it sounds like, how did people take you at first? Did they just see you as a new neighbor?
Well, most people up there didn't have the internet. So yeah, this is when the internet was just popping. And especially up there, like I had done the first podcast out of Ely, Minnesota. And at that time I was still doing Radio Free Satan. I know we'll talk about that at another time. But they just saw me as a neighbor. They didn't understand who I was. And yes, to answer your question, yes. Did
you have the awareness that people may not receive you being a Satanist as well as bigger environments would be?
Oh, fucking absolutely. I put out obscene books. I wasn't, before I was a technical Satanist with Anton LaVey giving me the blessing of a priesthood and stuff.
This is you pre-LaVey?
No, this is me after LaVey.
Okay, thank you.
This is me as a member and a high-ranking member of the Church of Satan.
Got it.
So I understood the danger of being a counterculture, transgressive artist. I was run around Chicago. I understood the only place for me to go after Chicago, after being run out of Chicago, harassed in Chicago. Like I did art shows and events called like the Court of Porn or the Expo of the Extreme, stuff like that. These are radical art events where there's pornography, there's heavy metal, there's bondage, there's piercing, stuff that's very normal to maybe me and you, or very cool and is not shocking to us, is not acceptable and was not acceptable in Chicago at that time. So I knew my only place to go was New York, where I could be accepted. I chose Ely, Minnesota for the heart, and took my lumps. But yeah, I knew once they found out I might have some problems, but I chose to try to participate in the community and not be some, like when I got up there, I remember I smoked my last 2 joints and thought about it, like, what am I going to do here to make money? They're never going to buy Satanism here. They're not going to buy skull pint glasses and all the satanic trinkets I would sell at the time. So I came up with a soda pop company because they had a blueberry festival. And I remember watching the soda pop bottles go by on a field trip at this one soda company. And I called them, and they, after I pitched my idea a couple of times, they encouraged me and enabled me to do a soda company. And I did really well with it, Neely. And at that point, that's when people started to look into who I was, and the internet started to pop, and they saw all my nasty websites, and things changed.
Do you, slightly off topic, did you have to change the way you dressed?
Well, no, I have never walked around town as a Satanist, like dressed in all black. I do. I like power colors, let's say. I like dark colors, but I don't conform to any rules. I have no rules, but let's say I'm working with you and you have rules. I can respect your rules, but I don't have them. And so I never really did walk around like that. So no, I didn't.
As a woman who wears gold chains to places it's completely unacceptable to wear a gold chain, I completely endorse this.
Yeah, exactly. I dress as I want, and that's the way it is.
That's the most satanic thing you can do, too. You're dressing for yourself, non-surveillant.
Yeah, exactly. Even when I was a young boy growing up in the suburbs, I dressed as I wanted, and I was always tripped out by how people were upset with the concert shirt. Like if you wore a skull. In my day, that would be shocking in the suburbs in the Midwest. I never understood it. I still don't.
And especially the early internet, during that time period, I think of all the extreme teens on Ricky Lake and Geraldo Rivera and all, you know, and LaVey's daughter and her husband being on TV, and the, you know, that era of the, I'm going to call it the second wave of the satanic panic, because it was very different from the 80s, where it was it was a shit show and it got ratings, much like Jerry Springer. And I think people were very upset over things that were satanic because of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, back then with the Xena and stuff like that, they were pushing it. They were wanting to be, we were transgressive artists, and we wanted to cause problems and hurt people's feelings and get people to hurt each other. That's what transgressive art is about. I did dress the role when I had to, and I also used to call wearing all black to go to an event as a satanic clown suit. Like, I'm going to put on my satanic clown. I'm going to put on the satanic clown suit, you know, with all black and dress that way, because I felt too much like a clown at that point. I'm being a parody of myself, and I didn't like it.
Time to go put on my uniform to work for the man.
Right. And I remember going to some parties in LA as, you know, the invited Satanist, and I'd show up in these, and people were expecting something else, and I'd go in a Polka Pal Don shirt. Polka Pal Don was a big deal. Yeah.
Nice.
And I remember one porn woman coming out there and going, I mean, you're nothing I was expecting. And I said, what'd you expect? And she goes, I expected someone tall, dark, handsome, black goatee, all black boots. And she gave me the breakdown of what she thought a Satanist was. And I'm like, I see.
She could just go to Perversion or like Blue Monday or any club on Sunday or Saturday night in Hollywood, or fucking Bar Sinister. Just go to fucking Bar Sinister. Pick one. Any of them.
Right. And that's what it is. It's the Hollywood satanic image, the clown suit, the clown,
the Tommy Wiseau look.
Oh yeah, exactly. You see you'll see these people that are well read in Satanism. They'll have a Baphomet tattooed on their neck, let's say, but they're under everyone else's thumb. It's like they're clowns. They're satanic clowns to me. I mean, there's people who manifest their satanic will through their artwork, and then there's people who consume artwork that wear satanic clothing. I'm one that manifests my will through my art, first and foremost.
I think that the consumer often, the consumer can only manifest through what they're wearing if it is paying the bills, what they're wearing. If they can dress how they want and go to work and they're happy with that, I think that's great. But that's, I think, completely different than refusing to take off the band shirt and go to work without the devil lock in front of your face.
Yeah, right. And it's the same way with mating rituals, too. Like, they have to wear these suits, the satanic clown suit, to go out and meet someone, let's say. They're like you're saying, you're going to wear gold chains and maybe dress hip-hop, you know, which is very satanic. You know, like to go to a satanic thing and then be in gold chains and dressing fashionable, like modern fashion, not this, I'm in all black, just like you and just like Jane and just like Fred. And, you know.
And, you know, the color black has always been a magician's color. It's been always a color that's enigmatic. It's anything you can make of it. So it's powerful that wearing black would be satanic, but it doesn't have to necessarily be cut from the same cloth.
It's sort of funny, though, if you notice all the waiters at fine restaurants wear all black. Servants wear all black. So I'm not really keen on wearing all black as a clown suit to serve some sort of image. You know, I'm not a servant. I'm myself. Maybe I am a servant. Maybe I'm not, but I'm myself, and I want to project myself. That's that. Whether it's like right now, I'm in a yellow sweatshirt that says woke face, and it's a bright yellow sweatshirt. I love yellow. I'm going to start wearing yellow all the fucking time.
What is woke face?
Woke face. Woke face is an artist out of Portland, and she makes artwork like that says "Be nice to you" and mindful stuff. And I believe that's the modern Satanism. I believe woke face and her woke face image is the modern Baphomet almost. It's just about being awakened, to being enlightened. I think that's satanic, being enlightened, trying to be more enlightened. And every day waking up going, I'm not enlightened enough. I need to be educated more. I need to be more thoughtful of people, more mindful of what's going on around me. I think those are all cool phrases.
I think that's definitely how you gain power as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm in love with woke face, her artwork. I'm in love with her. I have a big crush on her. I think she's the greatest.
Shout out to woke face. If you want to go on a hot date with not so tall, not so dark, quite handsome man, you should hit up Shane Bugbee.
I'm quite handsome. You hear that, woke face? I think we could have made out at one point, but someone walked in on us. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Woke face. He'll see you in his dreams.
I will.
This episode today is brought to you by Woke Face. Woke Face, wake up without a dry pair of panties.
Yeah, exactly.
Womp womp. That was a bad joke.
That was great.
Back to Ely.
That was great.
Back to Ely.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of picturing you being kind of like, you know the Elvira movie, how she moves into the small little insular town and she has to somehow make do. And I'm almost imagining it being sort of like that, even if it's like deep down inside.
Oh, I've never seen that. But yeah, what you have explained is exactly that, moving into a small town and trying to figure out how to survive. Yes, that was Ely.
Within the soda company, was it within days, weeks that they started to feel like you were too uppity for them? Or how was that?
Oh, no, it was when I reached massive success and people wanted to steal that. This is something that's in Might is Right, of course. And so when I was nothing, they didn't pay attention to me. When I started to do a soda company, I remember the guy from the Chamber of Commerce calls me and says, "You can't do this. You didn't call the chamber." And I go, "The fuck, I can't do it. Not only can I do it, I am going to do it." And he's like, because I was doing it because they had this blueberry festival up there and they said 30,000, 40,000 people came to it. And I'm like, hell, if I can get 50 cents out of each of them, I'll make it up here. That was my only goal. And so I made the soda pop and I'm doing it and going out and selling it to the stores. And this guy calls me and says that. And I said, "The fuck, I can. I am doing it. And you're not going to stop me." And he's like, "Well, you're not part of the Blueberry Festival. How are you going to sell it?" And I said, "I'm going to pay kids. I'm going to get a bunch of those little red carts that you pull around. I'm going to fill them with ice and I'm going to give kids 50 cents a bottle they sell. So I'm going to make a bunch of kids rich in Ely, Minnesota as they walk around the Blueberry Fest with my soda pop. And let me see you or the police stop a little kid that's about 10 years old from selling soda pop like a lemonade stand. See how that works for you, buddy." And you know what? 2 days later, he gave me half of his booth. He's like, "Listen, I run the radio station. You can have half of our booth. You're now invited to the thing." So me being strong and saying, "Fuck you, I'm doing it. And I have a plan to go around your rules legally and you're not going to stop anything. So go about your business, buddy. And I'm going to go about mine." I was invited. I took over his whole booth that weekend. It was great.
This is interesting because it sort of mirrors how you challenged LeVay with how you're going to do things your way. And it worked in your favor. It's very much like that. Do you think that that's a very almost like a primal thing with males, with men, that if you stand up to it, it's more likely the other one's going to back down or see your integrity?
I would like to say it's not just men, but men had the privilege back in my younger day to do those things. Women, it was a different time for women. But I see women asserting themselves now just fine and doing the same kind of thing, like saying, "No, I have a right to do this and I'm going to do this and you're not going to stop me." And that's all I was doing, because I was a marginalized person too. So I can relate with women. I can relate with trans. I can relate with a lot of people because I'm a poor person. I was living in my car and shit like that. I would say upper low class is my projectile, how I see things. And so I was sick of being ignored. I'm like, no, if everyone else can do it, I can do it too. Fuck you, man. Don't tell me I can't do something. I can. And I don't need to know you to do it. And I don't need to be your friend to do it. I can just do it. And this is what business is, my mistake in business has always been I don't play politics. And I think it's gross too. But I've also learned that politics in the smallest of towns exist and you do need to respect.
You got to play the game if you're going to survive half the time.
To a point, to a degree. And to play the game, I think to a degree. I could have still been in Ely fighting. I could have sued the town of Ely for, all the stuff that happened. But I choose to keep moving forward in my life. Like for me as an individual, I have an individual projection and I'm not going to let anyone stop me. I'm moving forward. If someone gets on my back, I'm going to shake them off. I fight like a motherfucker to get my shit out. Like, whatever it is, like I just recently made rugs, art rugs. I fight to do my stuff. So that's just, I hate to think it's just, I think it was men back then. I like to think everyone's participating in the fuck you, I'll do what I want. Fuck you, don't do what you tell them. Don't, fuck that. If you have the right to do it, I have the right to do it. And if you're going to stop me, great. Now I'll film it. Like I was able to do with that Mike Hillman guy. I was finally able to go up there and film some of this shit.
Was Mike Hillman the guy who told you also that you can't have the booth at the festival?
No, this was a guy I became great friends with after we had a standoff, which has happened many times. I've had my life threatened by gangbangers or pornographers, and I'm like, yeah, you want to threaten my life, motherfucker? I know it costs $50 and a bum to kill you too. It's not, life is cheap, bitch. Don't fucking talk shit to me, because I'll pay someone $50 in your neighborhood, a drunk or a drug addict. I'll pay them $50 to snuff you out too. Or how about your kids? So you want to talk shit now? You got kids. You got something to lose. I got nothing to lose. And so I was able to be friendly with a lot of tough people because I can talk the talk and walk the walk too.
I think that a lot of people can't say that same thing. I think a lot of people run and hide, or they gaslight. They have a tendency to either walk away from it, like run away from it rather, or they can't respect differences, or they can't respect discord between each other.
I think that's a point of privilege. Either they're very good looking, a very good looking woman that's always hit on, a very good looking man, or from a class of person that's always getting their bills paid. So that comes from a point of privilege. I didn't have that privilege. I'd be dead in a goddamn alley or in prison if I didn't fight back. I want to be the best human being I can from the start. When I was born, I had 6 paper route. I took over one after the other because I just have this will to be a better person. I was malnourished when I was a child, so I'm short. I wasn't able, all these weird things that work against me. I have a learning disability. They say, I don't call it a disability, but it's like that. So you have to fight. It's just one of those things. I think obstacles that are like a curse, like I like to call it, it's a curse and a blessing. So a lot of the obstacles we might face in the margins are also a blessing if we don't let them beat us down. If we don't let them win, we become callous. And I guess when I think about myself, I became calloused in a way that became inappropriate and angry and bitter, and that's when I was like transgressive artist, where I didn't give a fuck if you hurt each other. I wanted you to hurt each other. I wanted to put artwork out that would cause pain and violence. And so that's that callous. And I'm glad that I'm also romantic, because, that helps soften the callous.
Absolutely. Do you think that if you were a local yokel and you had the same business enterprise of your soda, do you think that they would have taken it better and tried not to destroy your success?
Absolutely. When you come from out of town, they think they have the right to take advantage of you. There's a Lars von Trier movie. I forget what it's called. Dogtown, maybe, or Dogville?
Lords of Dogtown?
No, that's a skateboard movie. That's a different one.
Sorry.
Lars von Trier's is about a small, yeah, right. So Lars von Trier's is about a small town where a woman is stuck there because of a flat tire or some shit, and they basically make her a slave, and small towns actually have a rape trailer. They're fucked up. They're in incestuous, gross places. Dogville, right. Dogville's a great movie, and if you want to know what a small town's like, see Dogville. And so I feel like they have after living in small towns for about a decade of my 50 years, I would say I'd like to see the world concreted over and a big fucking city, because in cities, we vote in an appropriate way. We vote for human beings because we see the poorest of the poor and the richest of the rich. We don't hide. There's nothing, you can't hide. It's just real. And there's a ton of beautiful culture. Look at I don't know, I can go on and on about the world-class city of San Francisco or Chicago and how many great things come out of those areas that people in small towns take advantage of. That's what they do in small towns. They take advantage, and not in a humanistic, balanced way. It's a very perverse taking advantage of.
It's very interesting. I've noticed obviously not in Ely, but in small towns, there's this tendency for us to put this rose-colored image of small towns having values, having honesty, things like that, when in reality, the face that comes forward is not necessarily the face they have at home.
What does Scarface say in the movie? You know what a hassa is? is a pig who doesn't fly straight. Something like that. And that's what small towns are full of, hogs that don't fly straight or whatever. I'm not really into small towns. I'm into anyone who escapes the small town. I'm into anyone. Oh, did you?
I grew up in a very small town as well.
Yeah. And you escaped, and here you are.
I will never live in a small town like that either. I refuse to even revisit where I come from because I don't feel safe going. I feel like, and it has nothing to do with lifestyle or beliefs. It's rather, I've heard of incidents happening involving people getting away with crimes due to privileges, due to their connections with whoever. And it's one of those things that makes me feel like, oh shit, well, as a woman of color, as a woman, and as a woman who looks like a perpetual foreigner, I do not want to come up missing in my hometown because no one will find me, or I will never be brought to justice in a world like that. So I'd rather just completely avoid it.
Yeah, I bet you it's, now I bet you it must be so frightening to be a person of color and a woman from a small town. See, I have this white male privilege, even being poor, of course, I have this white male privilege that I'm able to be treated a little different. Ely, Minnesota was funny. I made jokes about it because I was like, at some point I was able to become a powerful person in that town a bit. I had keys to the radio station. I was accepted for the first time in my life into a society in a regular place doing my soda pop. And at some point I thought it was weird. I made jokes. I was like, I feel really uncomfortable because I was dealing with the Native Americans at that time. And I saw how poor they were and how they were treated. And I remember bringing this up at a meeting at the radio station. I said, I don't know. I feel weird because they're like, not only was I working at the radio station, I was doing the cable access, and the guy was going to give me the keys to the cable access station, the cameras, everything. I was going to own it as much as you could. And I said, I don't know. I feel a little weird about this. And he's like, what? And I'm like, it's a fat white guy handing it to a fat white guy, and I'm going to help out these other fat white guys you're telling me to. It's like, I drive down the block and you've got 2 hot dogs in your hand and I've got 2 hot dogs in my hand, and we're all fat and white. And we're like, hey, you want another hot dog? As we look over the block and there's a bunch of Native Americans going, what's a hot dog? I'd like a hot dog. That smells good. And we're like, yeah, no, we don't got enough. Even though the whole front seat of my car is full of hot dogs.
Oh, man, that's like small town 101 right there. That whole, like, everyone enjoying something and then someone undesirable or someone not part of the flock shows up and everyone's like, oh, we're closed, or, oh, we've run out. It's an amazing trope that I will never get over.
Right. And see, being from Chicago, it don't work that way. We're an eye-to-eye culture. You can have $1 billion, you can have no dollars. That billionaire walks down the street, he best fucking greet everyone like, hello, how are you? You better look everyone in the eye. You know what I mean? And you better not be a clown in this fucking town. What I mean by a clown is if someone picks on you, you could be handicapped with no legs and some motherfucker takes your wallet at the bus stop, you better try to fight. If you don't, if you just go, oh, let them have it, people have no respect for you. The minute you go, give me my wallet back, everyone at that bus stop is going to go, yeah, give them the fucking
I love
give them the wallet back. But if you don't do that, they're not going to say shit. They're going to go, okay, I'm not going to be a clown like you motherfucker.
No, he's a bitch.
Yeah, bitch or whatever. Yeah, right. So it's like, so when I went up to Ely, it felt weird to me because I was friends with Heart Warrior Chosa and her son Sunrise, rest in peace, Sunrise. Yeah, I was good friends with them. Like Sunrise was this long-haired native boy, and he had the Dead Kennedy shirt on, and we were looking for weed up there. So we reach out to Sunrise, and we start talking to him. All of a sudden, he goes, hey, my mom wants to meet you. And I don't know who she is, but she's a big deal, chieftain. And so we go to, I tell some people like, hey, I'm going to go meet Heart Warrior. And they go, what? Heart Warrior doesn't meet with anyone. And I go, yeah, she invited me over. No. And I go, yeah. And so people were amazed. But me and Heart Warrior became such great friends. And she's a mystic, total occultist. She went to school. She was the first woman to graduate from the University of Minnesota. And when she was going to school there, she was going with Isaac Bonowitz. Now, this guy wrote books on Wiccan, occults. Yeah, so I'm talking to, like, these are fucking top-tier occultists. And so I became great friends with Heart Warrior Chosa. And so at that time, I felt very weird about my situation because I wanted them to have the cable access channel. Her son was like a secret filmmaker. He was like this guy who was seeing things in images much better than I was. He had better ideas than me. And I always submit like a Satanist should to the smarter person. submit to the better idea, submit. And he had it. And I was like, man, I'd really like to work with them. Like, no, we can't work with them. No. And I was just blown away by that. Blown away.
What was their reasoning for that?
Well, they're criminals. They're this, they didn't understand how they operate. Heart Warrior chose to live in a trailer and go cart her own water in. She didn't have water at the trailer and shit like that. And so they took him as, something that was dangerous and scary. Or she collected money once for this thing and then she didn't do it. And so we're going to hold her, not have compassion for her, but look for anything they could to beat on her about. She ran for governor. She ran for fucking governor when she lived in the middle of the Boundary Waters. Heart Warrior chose it. You search that on the internet. That's the first video I ever made. I cut a video. I edited down a video for Heart Warrior Chose. It should be on maybe Ely Soda on YouTube. There's a couple videos up there. And there's one called Shunned. You can also see it's about being run out of town. But Heart Warrior, in the middle of the Boundary Waters, she would take a canoe 3 hours, lift it and carry it for about an hour, portage it, and then put it on her station wagon and drive 4 hours into Minnesota to run for governor with her kid. Talk about a hardcore native woman, hardcore
fucking
woman.
Brick
like
house.
Brick house. And she was running, and people are, back then they would call, what do they call them there? Tree niggers. Excuse the word. I don't like using it, but that's the word. You have to hear the ugly part of it. That's what Heart Warrior and stream niggers. So that's what they would call them. And Heart Warriors, all these, I saw the things. She showed me photos of stuff and of these abuses, and they would throw rocks through windows where she would go to speak about being a governor. Oh man, she fought it. She didn't care. She was bold and brave. What a beautiful woman. I just love her to this day, even though I don't talk to her anymore because of Trump. She sided with Trump for some reason. She's a older person, so they all did. I don't know what happened to him.
My father's a Native American, and he also sided, and it's a generational thing, I think. And it's very hard to be upset with it sometimes because of the oppression and the discrimination that generation got from white people. The idea of siding with the white people or trying to fit in with the white people is generationally, it's a coping mechanism. It's a way to survive because of what you dealt with as a kid or what your parents dealt with. So I think a lot of it has to do with that, unfortunately.
You want to know something?
What's up?
Thank you. Thank you for that gift. I can be friends with Heart Warrior again. I did not consider that. That is where I kept looking for a source of compassion. I kept looking for it, and I couldn't find it. I'm like, you are for the streams. You're for the trees. This guy's destroying things. How could you do this? You've let me down so hard. You've just explained it in the perfect way.
Oh,
thank you.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Well, I want to be friends with Heart Warrior. I really do. It's hard to reckon what she has done by siding with Trump. It's very hard for me to reckon, but you've just helped me with that.
Fantastic. Maybe
survival.
Maybe in time you guys can reconnect.
Well, after what you just said, I think I'm going to try.
Good.
Yeah.
Fucking good.
That was a really good, insightful thing, and I wish she could have explained it that way, because I've asked her 100 times, and it's just like this Fox News rhetoric comes at me, and I'm like, fuck you. We've had, Heart Warrior is great, hanging out in Ely with her. We'd have arguments, and I'd smash my hand on the table, like fucking what the fuck, yelling, and she'd get up and smash both her hands on the table. Wham! You she'd look me in the eyes like she was going to gut me. And I'm like, holy shit, she'll fucking kill me. And she's like 60 or some shit. Like, don't fuck with Heart Warrior, man. She'll fucking, holy shit. Okay. I'm like, okay, I'm sitting down. Please don't hurt me.
I think also she put herself through, it sounds like she put herself through so much shit when she ran for governor, because she's not just doing it for herself. And as people of color, especially as a woman of color, she held a lot of responsibility to do that. And it's really, those other people can fucking kick rocks for the fact that they don't have to not take her for granted, but the fact that they did not see that it's not the same as them running for governor.
I only saw it as, I honestly, because of whatever the learning thing is, I really don't notice the color stuff and gender issues until they're explaining to me from my white culture, like, till they say something, it's always confusing to me. And that's, like I said, one of the things, I think I said that in the last episode when we were talking about LaVey, one of the things that really excited me about his thing was like, we just hate stupid people. The rest of it, you're a fool if you hate someone based on what they dress like or what they look like or their gender. And that really struck something to the natural being that I am. But I don't read faces well either because of the maybe the slight Aspergers thing. We have issues with facial communications. People might move their eyebrows or shrug their shoulders. And I'm like, what does that mean? Can you tell me in words? Can you say that in words? Because I don't understand what you're doing with your face. Makes it hard when I'm being hit upon too. Because I'm like, I said this the other day to a gal. I'm like, girl's doing something. I'm like, I gotta ask, are you? This is weird, but are you hitting on me? And she started laughing, and I'm like, do I have a chance to make out with you? And she started laughing, and she's like, yes, you do. But I couldn't put it together. She was real close and doing all these nice things, and I just, in my mind, I couldn't put it together.
Ladies, if you want to date with this big old teddy bear, he likes tits and cake. Just come over without a shirt on and a piece of cake and put on your woke face and your kickwear pants. Yeah. And get some of that shade.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yes, I can take a lot of love right now. That's true. Yeah, and I'm glad to be able to reconnect with Heartward based on what you said. But Ely was a rough place for her too. And she was kicked around town too. And I remember when we were being shunned, and there's a film up on YouTube called Shunned. You search it, shunned, maybe Ely Soda or Bugby. You'll find it. I remember at some point she's like, I can't hang out with you. And her son was arrested a week before that. And it was all tied into us. Like they started harassing anyone around us, any friends we have. Like when you get shunned, it's not an easy thing. It's as my partner at the time would say, it was like being a person who had been raped a handful of times in her life. She had said it was like being raped every day, and it was pretty hard to deal with. That's for certain.
That's quite a hard figure to think of.
Yeah, and that was for months. I mean, we had people, we'd go into the store, after they found out we're Satanists, and I thought it was so funny because I'm like, but you have South Park pumping in on fucking cable. I can't even beat South Park as far as shocking content goes. But they would drop to their knees and start praying for us as we're buying broccoli at the grocery store. And at first, yeah, right, laugh. It's funny. It was hilarious. We thought it was great.
It's spooky, and I'm actually laughing out of like nervous laughter. That's scary.
But it was fun. But we got a good kick out of it when it first happened. It was like novel. The store would, and then at some point it was like we'd walk into the grocery store and the whole store was silent. It was noisy, and then it went, and we're like, what in the fuck? And so it got scary. It got, scary. And then we can keep talking, I don't know how to go with this story, but at some point we had to call police because of the death threats. And I remember this one cop came over and I'm like, come on in. He's like, you're going to let me in your house? And I go, yeah, I don't have anything to hide. Come on in. And he comes in and we show him on the computer, the guy who had threatened our life and the photo of him and stuff. And he's like, is that a picture of Glenn Danzig and you? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, is that a picture of Lemmy and you? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I love Glenn Danzig. He's a friend of mine. So we knew we had a friend there.
So that wraps up this episode. But next episode, we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to find out a little bit more about what happened in Ely, what caused them to leave, and if they ever came back. Thank you so much for all of this, Shane. This has been just absolutely stunning of a story. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Wow, that's very nice to hear.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and tune into our next episode wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. You can find us at Speak of the Devil Pod on Twitter and contact us at speakofthedevilpod@gmail.com. For Shane's artwork or to support his endeavors, please visit ShaneBugby.com or find him on Twitter at ShaneBugby. I've been Naneral. Have a good one.
Oh, and ShaneIsTheDevil.com.